Yeah. There's the truth there.
She said something about subjecting the poor innocent court workers to death by sea lion because sea lions are dangerous. What are you talking about?
Sea lions are good. I used to chase them away when I was a kid.
They are big.
They can
wild
be
beasts,
wild,
but
yes.
but all you do is bang a broomstick on the dog.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, what happened is actually they allowed the population to proliferate to over 1 million. When we were kids here, there was only 200,000. Every time the beach is closed, the bacteria is from them coming by at 10,000 pot and doing their thing. That's why the beach is closed. And they eat all our salmon. No fish. Don't tell me.
We're limited, and yet
I knew it.
nobody cares. It's like those
I knew it.
protected areas. Oh my gosh, I get so upset.
They destroyed our fishing industry. Those sea lions are responsible. They hang out at the fish ladder.
Of course I do.
And they're wondering, where are all the salmon? Oh, well,
And
gee.
it's very difficult to deter them. I've some of those air dancers, you know, those funny things that
Yes,
you put a
yes.
fan on there. I bought those and that kind of helps scare them away.
The Indians are the only ones allowed to kill them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I know. Well, they're protected, but even the Marine Mammal Center said that they're reaching their level of
big. They're over 1
capacity where
million,
they aren't going to be able to sustain themselves anymore. They're going to start starving.
Oh,
And
God,
that's-
that'll be
isn't that
pathetic.
sick
That'll be
enough?
dying
I
on your
know.
decks and your boats, and some guy walks on his boat, and there's the cost of removal. And disposal. Not only, you just can't dump them in the water.
Oh, it costs me. Now you can actually, but
Oh, you
you
can?
know, yeah. But it's just costs me thousands and thousands of dollars every year because they break my dog, so they
course
break
they do.
the water lines.
You bet.
Oh, it's just
I understand the problem. These are big animals. I used to chase them away when I was doing the tide gates at the Elkhorn Slough. I did that project. Way up the end of the slough. And boy, they used to line across the road. And yet they come in and I chase them away before we start the project in the morning. They just they're all the way up there.
We'll go ahead and get started.
Oh.
I want to thank everyone for coming today to the first of Marina in Motion's candidates forums for 2014. I'm Gail Youngblood. I'm the Vice President of Marina in Motion, and I do want to thank everybody for taking some time out of their day to come here today and make this a very successful forum. Today we're going to be looking at the candidates for Marina Coast Water District Board of Directors. And we have a set process that our moderator, Linda McIntyre, will go through. But first, what I would like to do is introduce the people that will be screening our questions today. So what we have today, we have 4 screeners, and we thank all of you for coming today. Kurt Parker, Monique Varga, Wayne Spalding, and Tom Moore. And again, thank you so much for being with us today and helping us make this process very successful. And now I want to introduce Linda McIntyre. Linda McIntyre is a business attorney who's been an elected city council member, corporate counsel, English teacher, and legislative liaison to former Senator Bruce McPherson.
Oh, yeah.
Since 1999, she's been with the Moss Landing Harbor District as general manager and harbor master. A native Californian, she's lived on the Central Coast since 1987, serving on numerous boards, commissions, chambers of commerce, and president of the California Association of Harbor Masters and Port Captains. She holds a PC 832 Administration of Justice certificate, including firearms, and is a certified special district administrator and an active member of the State Bar of California. She lives in San Juan Bautista with her husband, 2 cats, and 2 motorcycles. And thank you, Linda, for helping us through this process today.
Well, it's my pleasure. Shall I begin with the introductions then? Over here on your left and my right, we have Ken Nishi, who is married to Yoko for 32 years. They've both lived in the city of Marina for 36 years. He is now retired after owning Marina Nursery for 29 years. Next is Bill Lee. He's a retired Army officer and has been a resident of Marina for 36 years. In 2006, the ratepayers of Marina elected him to be their representative as a director on the Marina Coast Water District, where he served for almost 8 years. He's now running for his 3rd term. Next, I have Margaret Davis, who is a writer, editor, and a college instructor. She has resided in Marina for 13 years and is the executive director of Friends of the Fort Ord Warhorse. She served on the Marina Equestrian Center Park Ad Hoc Committee and is a current member of the Marina Planning Commission. Let me see. I'm going on to number 4, to Howard Gustafson, who has been a resident of Marina since 1958. He's attended all of our local schools and is a Seaside High School graduate. He had an honorable discharge from the United States Air Force, has a bachelor's degree in geology at Cal State University, Fresno. He has an extensive community service background. He was a past Marina councilman and vice mayor at the Fort Ord Reuse Authority. Or no, he was the vice mayor here on this city council. Next, he was on the Fort Ord Reuse Authority. I don't think they have a vice mayor.
Sure.
Then he also has served for 10 years on the Marina Coast Water District and is a 3-time president and is running for re-election. Next is Jan Schreiner. She's currently finishing her first 4-year term on the Marina Coast Water District Board. Prior to her successful first campaign, she served on the Marina Public Works Commission from 2008 to 2010. As an environmental educator for the past 23 years, she works to inspire people to greater appreciation of the significance of cultural and natural resources. And last, Sarabi, I hope I pronounced that correctly, is a policy analyst for over the last decade and has been a resident of Monterey County his entire adult life. Now I'm going to give a brief overview of the process for today's candidate forum. And first and foremost, most importantly, at 1:30 we'll be having a break. I'm sure the candidates will appreciate that by that time. We've introduced the candidates. Questions are to be submitted by the public on 3x5 cards. These need to be general questions. She's holding the cards up in the back. These need to be general questions that can be answered by all the candidates. They are not to be directed to any individual. And please make them legible for my sake. And please refrain from applause or other demonstrations of disapproval or approval. Also, don't sign your cards or indicate who you are when you ask the question. These are to be anonymous questions. The candidates will be invited to read prepared opening statements, and they will be allowed to make closing statements as well, but no other prepared statements are to be used by the candidates. And the candidates, in case you're noticing them making notes, they have notepads and paper. They're allowed to keep notes during this forum, but they have no other materials up here with them. We've already selected the starting order, and it'll start in the order that I introduced them. The response to the questions are not to exceed 2 minutes, and the rebuttal is not to exceed 1 minute. If anyone on the dais wishes to rebut, you have a little toggle switch here in front of you. Please use the toggle switch so I can see who is interested in making a remark. And we've already done the sequence. The sequence of questions will be in the order that they are seated on the dais. Then it'll rotate. And then please pay attention to the timekeeper. She has your 30-second, that isn't 30 minutes, is it, Patty? It's a 30-second warning, and then she'll have the red card to show that your time is up. And because there are so many of you and we have a short amount of time, I'm going to be, it's not personal, but I'm going to be very firm in asking you to close your remarks immediately when that red card comes up. And I'll be following the rules. I'll be trying to keep order if we have any issues about order. You all seem like some very orderly people. I don't think we're going to have any problems. Campaign materials, this is the last of it. The campaign materials can be left on the back table for all the attendees. No campaign signs are permitted, but any materials that you want to put on the back table, I would say if you haven't done so already, you could do that during the break. And that concludes my remarks. If I had some questions to present, I would be happy to do so.
May I?
Oh, how rude of me to not even allow the candidates to make their own opening statements after I just got through saying that you could do so. We'll be starting with Ken Nishi, and you have 2 minutes to make your opening statement, Mr. Nishi.
Thank you. I would like to thank Marina Motions for having this forum excuse me. It doesn't affect people over there, but I wish the screeners wouldn't talk. It's very disturbing. Well, when I start again, but could we have them write to each other or whatever, but it's really distracting. Thank you. I'm going to try and start again. I would like to thank Marina Motion for having this forum to enable the public to look at the various candidates from Marina Coast Water Board. Also, I'd like to thank the public who are participating here and at home to view the candidates and their thoughts. If you haven't guessed it, I am not a public speaker. I'm not an eloquent speaker, but I have for 23 years been on the Marina Coast Board. My agenda from day one was to be your representative. As your representative, I am fair and treat all equally, not arbitrarily or capriciously make decisions on ordinances of the district, on what you earn per year, your education or your nationality, or mock on what you earn per, and not mock you for being of diversity. In 23 years as your representative, I have not been censured or acted where the focus of district time or funds were not used for issues which did not benefit the ratepayers. People would like to fabricate falsehoods and stories about my character. The facts are, they are just falsehoods and stories. In the last 23 years, I negotiated 2,000 acre-feet or whatever wastewater we send to the regional treatment plant and receive that amount back as recycled water. Negotiated 220 acres of Armstrong land for future district needs. On the board, which brought the former Fort Ord water infrastructure to Marina Coast Water District. On the board, which hired the first water conservation coordinator in Monterey County. On the board, which tried to help the Monterey Peninsula solve the water situation with the regional desalination project. I wish to
Your time is up, Mr. Nishi.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Lee?
I'm Bill Lee, and I've lived in this town for 36 years. As previously stated, I'm a retired Army officer and have spent several years on Marina Economic Development Commission. And I've been on the Marina Coast Water District Director for 8 years. My mission is to protect the ratepayers of this district and to ensure clean, affordable water and maintain the lowest rates in the region. That's all I have.
Margaret Davis?
Thank you. I'd like to use my time to talk about why this matters. Marina Coast Water has obligations to provide 6,600 acre-feet of water per year for Fort Ord redevelopment and 3,000 for Central Marina. Thus, the Water District must provide a minimum of 10,000 acre-feet a year to allow the economic recovery that Marina wants and needs. Marina has rights to 3 aquifers as a water source, the 180-foot, the 400-foot, and the 900. The 180 is saltwater intruded, and we don't pump it. The 400 is also saltwater intruded, but less so. The 900 is where we get almost all our water. This water was trapped underground in ancient times. We're using it up, and it does not refill, and no one knows how much water is left. Saltwater intrusion is caused by overdrafting by Marina and others with water rights, such as Salinas Valley farmers. This means our long-term water supply is vulnerable, if not impossible to sustain, without strategic planning in this decade. We're draining a limited pool of water. Improving conservation and recapturing water are essential, but in a drought, they're inadequate to solve our problem. Now is the time for Marina Coast to explore all options aggressively. We need to analyze scientific, environmental, legal, and economic factors. Is it more feasible to rely on our own resources or do something by ourselves, or cooperate with other public water purveyors? The current focus of this board has been to protect our rights from interlopers, but we also need to guarantee our long-term needs and identify our best actions, make contingency plans, and be prepared for an unrainy day on behalf of every Marina resident. Marina needs long-term, affordable water for the growth that will make our town prosper. This takes leadership at the policy level and a sense of urgency.
Your time is up. Mr. Gustafson?
Well, thank you very much. And I thank Marina Motion also very much for having this, and the public take the time out on their Saturday. It's wonderful. I just wanted to continue with my experience. It has been extensive. I also served on the Regional Waste Management District, the Transportation Authority, Monterey County. You commanded American Legion Post 694. President of the United Veterans Council for Monterey County, a chair on your Monterey Peninsula College Bond Oversight Committee. I was your Monterey County Veteran of the Year in 2001. I received your State Senate Resolution 3174 for community service in 2001, and Certificate of Special Congressional Recognition for my community service in 2001. Currently a member of the American Legion, Veterans of Hawaii, Geological Society of America, International Erosion Control Association, California Stormwater Quality Association, and voted Monterey County Herald's Most Interesting Public Servant for 2013. And I wanted to continue our low water rates. You know, we have the most competitive rates in the region, and you Marina ratepayers ensure that we collect the necessary rates, which we have done at Fort Ord. We've not had those rates for several years. We've done it, and we've accomplished that. We have a diverse water supply. We have rights to a desal plant. And I worked with Ken Nishi, by the way, when he was on the board, to secure the 2,000 acre feet of recycled water through successful negotiations where before Ken Nishi and I were together doing it, took 8 years of nothing on the board. So together, I think we've done a great job. I don't want any annexation without the vote of the Marina ratepayers. Our water is too critical, and you know, we can't have the same people involved with those recent desal Monterey County nonsense involved in telling us what to do with our water. And Marina ratepayers have always been great conservationists. They always have been. We don't need people telling us what to do with our water. We do it on our own. And we need to begin to rely on ourselves and develop our own water supplies.
Your time is up. Thank you. And Jan Schreiner, you're next.
Hi, thank you to Marina in Motion for hosting and for everyone who is attending today as well as watching by television. I ran in 2010 on a platform of improving the transparency and improving a character of open government for the Marina Coast Water District. This year, I'm asking voters to support my efforts to continue that work, as well as to diversify options for our water sources, recover from the financial risks associated with a failed project, and protect and appreciate our publicly owned assets and rights. Early in 2013, after 6 years of filming the board meetings by volunteers, including myself, the filming and airing of the regularly scheduled board meetings is now professionally has been negotiated, and through a combination of resource sharing on the part of the district, of the Marina City government, and of the Community Television of Access Monterey Peninsula. In April 2014, the board was able to approve a written document called a strategic plan that is available to the public through the agency website or through requests to the office at 11 Reservation Road. The strategic plan work included many meetings held to shape the direction of the district for the next 5 years. Public participated, district staff provided input, and the board discussed objectives and priorities again and again. District staff tell me this is the first official public document of a strategic plan since 2007. As the current board member assigned to the Water Conservation Commission, I recognize that the water conservation program is hobbled by only having one staff member designated to the effort. He is making great headway with the interns from CSUMB, and he's doing a fantastic job with the resources available to him. The board will review the conservation program. Thank you.
I'm sorry, your time is up. Mr. Sarabi?
Hello, thank you to Marina in Motion for hosting this event.
I don't think your mic is on.
Is it on now?
There we go.
All right, thank you. Thank you guys for hosting this event. This November, the voters of Marina have a very important decision. Are you happy with your current water situation? And I think the answer is clearly no. And this election is about the direction of water in Marina. It's about new Marina versus old Marina. It's about 2020 versus 1990s. It's about supporting those who seek to rehabilitate this district versus supporting those who drove it into the ditch. It's about supporting those who will lift this district out of debt versus supporting those who brought it into debt. It's about supporting those who put the public's agenda versus the private agenda. Over the past few years, the district has spent thousands of dollars on legal fees, fending off lawsuits, money that could have been used to lower water rates, money that could have been used to upgrade infrastructure, money that could have been used to provide better customer service. The district has been racked by scandal and infighting and backbiting. This has damaged our reputation in the community. It has damaged our reputation with our community partners, and I believe together we could change the direction of Marina water. Thank you.
We'll be starting with the first question. Thank you for your introductions. We'll be starting with Mr. Nishi. A question was asked about whether or not there can be more than one rebuttal. I don't know. These are Marina in Motion rules, but it doesn't seem to me that we're going to have much time for that. Perhaps if there's something compelling that you want to say, you could maybe do it in your closing remarks. The first question is, what are your highest priorities for the Marina Coast Water District for the next 4 years? Your highest priorities.
Point of order. My understanding was, I know I'm number one, but I'm not number one on every question.
No, you won't be.
As number one, I led off opening statements.
Correct.
This is the first question. I would think it would go to number two.
No, the first question will go to you. The second question that I ask from these cards will go to Mr. He will be the first to speak on the second
Hey,
question.
You're the boss,
Wow, I've been promoted.
just like my wife, so. Okay, I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Sure. What are your highest priorities for the Marina Coast Water District for the next 4 years?
My highest priority for the next 4 years and 16 years after that is to make sure that the ratepayers pay the lowest water rates in Monterey County. And the only way to do that is to make sure that, like a TOT tax, somebody else pays for the water. And when I left the board 2 years ago, that was with a 3,000 acre foot desalination augmentation for the former Fort Ord. This board eliminated it, and now we're having trouble. That is the highest priority, is to ensure that we have the money. And we would have succeeded if we didn't have RICO and the conspiracy from Monterey County and Cal-Am. So always the ratepayer. We have to think of them. Thank you.
Mr. Lee?
You want each of us to answer the same question?
Correct.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to say the same thing Mr. Nishi said, so let me save some time there.
Obviously, you have the podium now.
And then a few words. We have a window where we are not in a water crisis at this moment because we're pumping from an aquifer and the drought isn't directly affecting us, to be able to act and plan so that when the need comes and as our economic development comes online, especially at Fort Ord, we have the water available. So these next 2014, 2015, these next months and years are extremely important in ramping up and aggressively finding solutions for these long-term needs, because it takes 10 years or more to get something in place once you found a solution. So we need to be talking to other public agencies. We need to be looking at our own resources. Can we do a long-term sustainable answer all by ourselves? Which would be the most economical thing? Which is the most environmentally sound? Which is most realistic about how much water do we actually have and how are we going to augment that? Those are questions that we can't be complacent about right now, because we have a window that is disappearing because we're taking all of our water right now from a limited finite source. We've got a straw down in the Salinas Valley groundwater basin. We're sucking up water from it and we don't know how much we have. So while we have it, we need to be aggressively pursuing these answers. That's what we should be doing, not just the next 4 years, but immediately. Thank you.
Mr. Gustafson?
Hi. Well, I definitely want to continue our low water rates. We have the most competitive in the region. You know that. I mean, everybody could only wish we have it. Continue our great water supply. Yes, our groundwater is 20 to 30,000 year old, but actually water is 4 billion years old. Remember that. And when the city of Salinas stops using the water from the basin, we'll stop using it. And believe me, when it gets close to that point, that city will have a solution, because they risk 200,000 population and complete agricultural processing community, which gives a complete economic viability to this area. So don't tell me about the basin. That isn't our problem, people. Our problem is having to deal with others on the peninsula to create a decent water supply in the past, in which we got involved in. And now we're working to collect that money back from people who were just so deceitful. And the level of public servant that you should realize, it makes it hard to have any negotiation to create a water supply. Here we've got a great one. Ken Nishi and I worked on the recycled water negotiation, but they're the same people that we dealt with on the desal. Do you think we're going to have the best outcome in the world? You trust them? No, you need people who know how to operate the system. You have people with experience. I have 30 years in public works experience. Last year alone, I inspected 1,700 Cal Water and Alco connections. I know everything there is about a water supply system, and I use my experience to help us and keep our rates low. You can guarantee that, because I'm a ratepayer also. Always remember that. We're ratepayers also, and we work hard. I want to see, I'm going to say it right now, I want to see Ken Nishi and Bill Lee on that board with me. We need to move forward. And we need to make sure we secure our water supply and have the people that can fight the battle. We need to fight. Water is too important to us, people out there in Marina, and we need to secure it. Again, I'll say it again, rely on ourselves. Thank you.
Ms. Schreiner, what are your highest priorities for the Marina Coast Water District for the next 4 years?
For the next 4 years, I'd very much like to see the district implement that strategic plan that so many people worked so long to create. And that would include identifying projected needs and timing of the various land use decision makers in our region for water, so that we can provide water in a timely way and organized fashion. I'd also like to help out our water district staff who've been working so hard under some very difficult conditions. The first thing on the strategic plan is an FLSA audit. That's a Fair Labor Standards Act audit for the staff. We have in the list also staff development and the consideration of consolidating the staff into one area so that they can work more efficiently together. I'd also like to make sure the board reviews the water conservation program, the water conservation education as part of that program, implement all the new state mandates that are coming our way, create asset plans, master plans for water and wastewater services, as well as a capital projects plan that will make sense in an integrated regional water management plan. So what I'm saying is methodical, fundamental policy decisions that support the mission of this public agency and all of our families relying on high-quality water and wastewater services. That's what I would like to do for the next 4 years. Thank you.
Mr. Sarabi?
I think it's important that we continue to fight to protect ratepayers, that we keep costs down, that we also bring the public in as a partner and not just a ratepayer. I think it's important that we're inclusive as a board. I also support the 5-year strategic plan. I think it's vital for the board and for the district. I think we should also look at reaching out to our state representatives because they are here to represent us, and it's important that, you know, from time to time they push legislation that would help the district in our goals.
Mr. Nishi would like to exercise his right to rebut.
Yes, I have concerns that the mentality here is that we're in the Salinas groundwater basin and we are going to continue pumping there. Marina Coast is the one of the first ones to be impacted by seawater intrusion. I think 23 years has taught me that we have to use that groundwater pumping as backup, and we have to use the cheaper water left for the farmers because that's the biggest industry in the Salinas Valley, and we have to find a TOT tax mentality where we charge somebody else to pay for the higher water and we can benefit from subsidizing it from other people. That's the problem I think we have to solve, and we're not going to solve it.
Okay, Mr. Nishi, could you turn your light off when you're finished? Thank you. And Mr. Gustafson would also like
Is it
to
off?
rebut.
It's off.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Yeah, I would just like to continue to say that we still have our desal option for our plant. We have several locations available for that option. We're relying on groundwater because it is reliable right now. It is inexpensive, relatively speaking, based on the energy costs. I mean, people continue to pass climate change and think that humans cause climate change and vote for AB 32, things like that. Your power is going to go up. Your costs to generate it. We're going to have to charge more from the pumping. So I want to continue the desal option, our recycled water option, see what comes of it, and continue our groundwater option. We have a good mix. We have a good understanding, and we've always been aggressive in achieving what we need for our district.
Thank you, and could you please turn your light off when you conclude? That's fine. The second question will go to Mr. Lee, and the question is, should Marina Coast Water District proceed with its own desal project now, regardless of when the water may be needed? Please elaborate. Sorry? Oh, thank you.
Yes, it's imperative that we proceed with our own desal plant immediately. Once this water is in place, anybody else that wants water is going to be using that. The sooner that we start, the sooner we're going to finish. The problem that we have when we continue to put it off incrementally and listen to the naysayers, it just takes longer and longer because there's always unanticipated consequences. Once that water's in place, the CalAm organization can purchase this water if they wish. The various municipalities can start planning for whatever commercial development that they want. One of the things that we really seem to miss from time to time is the water district does not say you can have this project or you cannot have that project because we control the water. It's our little bucket, and we're going to either give it to you or not give it on it, depending upon the whims of that particular time frame. The land use jurisdictions, such as Marina and Seaside, tell us what it is that they want to do. If they've used up their little bucket of water, then we will go out and look for sources of water so that we can give them what it is that they want to do. Thank you.
Ms. Davis?
Linda, would you repeat the question?
Oh, certainly. Should the Marina Coast Water District proceed with its own desal project right now, regardless of when the water may be needed? Please elaborate.
I certainly agree that the Marina Coast Water District needs to look at desal right now because we're going to need it sooner than we think. Whether it should be our own desal is something that needs to be explored. Our focus needs to be long-term sustainable supply, fair rates to the taxpayer, representation for the ratepayers on our board. What form that takes as far as a desal plant should be the result of that analysis. Would it be better for us to use what we have now and come out with our own desal plant? We have a 300 acre foot a year plant that didn't turn out to work out so well. It's mothballed. Or, thank you, should we be talking partnerships with other public agencies, not private, mind you, like the CalAm debacle, but public agencies, pool resources and produce a great deal of water with shared costs? So no, I would not say that we should just go on the assumption that Marina should go on its own, or on the other assumption. This all needs very careful analysis for the benefit of the ratepayer.
Mr. Gustafson?
Yes, I definitely want to continue with our desal option. We've gained a lot of experience in dealing with the other entities in the region. Definitely have gained an enormous experience. Trust me on that. We're not going to make those same mistakes in being honest, open people from Marina who trust others to do a decent deed based on contracts that are legal in the state of California. And no judges support us? You know, you can't deal like that. That's why you need people who have experienced it, now have attorneys on board. We've learned, we know. I want to continue that desal operation. We don't have to necessarily start building it now, but we need to continue exploring the best options. We still have the rights at the Fort Ord sewage plant. We still have the rights at the Armstrong Ranch. Do we want, for a 600 acre foot desal plant, modular systems that we can quickly install? They're all together, these modular systems, ready to install so cheaply. You can't believe it. I've looked into them. Our problem is overcoming the Coastal Commission and some EIR restrictions, the same as we had before. Here we had a coastal commissioner that voted no for our slant well, and then all of a sudden, how is CalAm and the others, County Monterey, able to continue forth in the same spot with a slant well? How do we overcome that kind of stuff? When the coastal commission says no to me and says, okay, other? How's that going to work? And let me tell you about the 6,600 acre foot of Fort Ord. Economic development there is going to be a 30-year process. Quit listening to this, we need the water now. We don't need it now. It's not going to be needed for 30 years. And you don't think there'll be other options evolved in 30 years, modular systems, ways to pump, wells, things like that, the technology involved? I mean, we have an oil industry based on pumping and technology that same pumping and technology is going to come to us. You got it? Through these new booms. It's coming now. Flexible piping. Excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. Gustafson. Ms. Schreiner?
Thank you. Yes, for building the Marina Coast Water District's desal, I would suggest that first we find some entity who is willing to provide the funding, because the district can afford it as long as someone who is going to be using the water would actually be paying for it. We don't want to put a desal that may be needed, like Director Gustafson was saying, 30 to 50 years from now. We don't want to put that infrastructure into the ground on the rates of the current ratepayers. It should not fall on the shoulders of the people who pay here. In fact, I'm not sure that that would be legal. So we want to make sure that the investors would be considered as potentially paying for the future of the desal. In the meantime, we can hold off on creating this very expensive source of water, very high cost of energy, very high cost to the environment, relevant or related to, relative, I should say, to the surface water option or a recycled water option, and consider every source. Consider increased conservation efforts. Consider storage facilities being built. Consider surface water. Consider recycled water. All the options need to be evaluated and eventually provided in a logical, timely sequence. We would not do our community service by responding to pressure, but to collaborating very carefully. In the recent history of our community, we've had what's called land banking. It's a great investment strategy in locations where people are allowed allocations and entitlements, and then they hold that investment at today's low prices till a time when these Central Coast properties are extremely valuable, and that's when we're going to see the development. So this land banking has not served our community well. Thank you.
Mr. Sarabi?
I think it's important that we explore all options and keep all options on the table. I think that if we keep in mind that we're protecting our interest and the ratepayers' interests, whether we're looking at a public-private partnership or going it alone, I think that as long as we can look at every option thoroughly and have the best information at our hands, we'll be able to make a better informed decision that will protect ratepayers and the board's interest in the end.
Mr. Nishi?
Yes. It's good to sit here in the number 6 position because you can hear everything. And our 300 acre foot desal plant was a pilot plant. I don't know why people think we have one. It was there to find out if it's possible to do that. And we put it up, built it. It was possible to do it. Sand City used the same blueprint, and they have a plant now that's identical to the Marina Coast pilot plant. Marina Coast shut it down because it was costing too much to run it. Another statement was made, why build a plant if you don't need the water for 30 years? Well, we're in a situation where 10 miles south of us, they need the water. So what doesn't make sense that we build the plant and we don't need it for 30 years, then why don't we sell it to them and reduce the rates for the ratepayers? To me, that makes sense. Now, the other issue is let's not do anything because we can't provide funding. On the regional desalinization plant, Marina Coast got $450 million grant from the United States Congress. There was a bill that was going through, and because of the RICO conspiracy, et cetera, it stopped. We also had $400 million a loan from State Water Resources Control Board at 2.45%. So what you're hearing from a lot of these people is they're just reporting what they read in the newspapers. And again,
That'll have to hold for another time. The third question.
I have a rebuttal.
Oh, I didn't see your light on. I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
Rebuttal, 1 minute.
Yes, we cannot afford to be passive, hope that somebody else will take care of it, hope that technologies will drift our way and we'll catch them in our same net. Let us not forget that our own water supply is unassured at this point. We don't know how much water we have in that 900-foot aquifer, and we're pumping from it. Also, the problem that we had last time really centered around, we had a relationship with a private company, CalAm, who treats water as a commodity. That's not how we think of it. We think of it as a vital service to citizens that we are providing at cost, at a good cost for the ratepayer, and trying to find long-term solutions, whereas CalAm was not approaching it in that way. They get a big return, and they want to keep getting a big return. The entities that we should be talking to are, for example, the Moss Landing Harbor District, or Pajaro Sunny Mesa, or the Deepwater people, anybody who's coming up with good ideas that involve public water, we should be talking to now to see if it's viable for us and if we want to fit into it. Thank you.
Mr. Gustafson would like to rebut.
Yeah, I just wanted to reemphasize, Director Nishi brought up a few good points there about the money that would have potentially been available had we not gotten into such deceitful contractual obligations in which our partners don't seem to be obligated. But Marina has always been responsible. But it's costing us now. And like I said, our modular options, technology is improving. By the time we're ready to install that, and we're going to keep going with the technology and the information coming in on desal, and we're going to continue to explore and invest. But as we continue to explore, invest, and use our resource we currently have at the price we have, we save money and we invest into the need for the desal and the recycled water later. The technology will be available soon that we'll be able to drink that recycled water. I'll guarantee you, by the time we're ready, even with desal, trust me on that, the way the water is going now with the drought, the technology is coming.
The third question will be going to Margaret Davis. And the question is, do you or do you not support the City Council decision of 2 days ago, and why?
Absolutely, I support that decision. It was necessary to decide that. That was one of the most important decisions that's ever come down for City of Marina, because CalAm's attempted takeover of our water had not only physical ramifications, for example, pumping into our 180-foot aquifer, creating saltwater intrusion in our aquifer, an aquifer they have no rights to, and they were proposing 8,000 acre-feet a year as opposed to, the basically 3,000 acre-feet a year that City Marina uses currently. So we're talking massive amounts of water. That they were going to come in with impunity and pump from our basin. This would have huge ramifications for us. The other thing is political, basically. If you have CalAm in there taking our best spot, our assumed best spot at this point on the beach, where is our intake going to be? Where is our outflow going to be? This endangers Marina Coast Water District's ability to maneuver and to find the best thing for our ratepayers and assure our water supply and ability to grow. So it basically would just neutralize Marina Coast Water District. If you have CalAm taking our best opportunities, and bear in mind that running pipe is $1 million a mile. If we had to go way up the coast because Marina Coast CalAm took our best spot, our ratepayers are paying for piping that water back. So it was an important decision. Thank God for David Brown, Gail Morton, and Frank O'Connell for standing up to a great deal of pressure from CalAm and special interests and watching out for the citizens of Marina.
Are you concluded? Mr. Gustafson?
Yeah, I wanted to thank the Planning Commission for supporting it originally and planning it. It took them a while to do that and make the council realize how important it was. I mean, here, we have CalAm that owes us in the county $17 million. I mean, and here we've got a council, and the first time did approve it. I was baffled by that whole incident. And the fact, True, had the well gone in, we could get valuable information, but then they would possibly secure the well field out there and get legal support in that by letting them get in there. So we have to be careful. But saying that, as I said before, it was denied to us originally via the Coastal Commission. So, I mean, is it a moot point, or was somebody maneuvering with the Coastal Commission to get it passed? I'm just glad that the council in their next decision-making process actually supported the Planning Commission's original 2 decisions, and that the well was denied. And I think it denied in viable reasons just given by the Coastal Commission alone. I mean, that's all we had to go by. We have other options for well fields. We have also that Fort Ord property. We also have the Armstrong Ranch, not for well fields, but for the location of plant. We need to keep the CMEX plant area for ourselves and our development of well fields, both vertical and slant. And imperative that we continue to get the support from the council to help us collect the money needed that the deceitful bunch in the peninsula took from us when we invested so friendly-like and open hand to create that very regional project that everybody could enjoy at the best rates possible, because we even followed the county's decision. We're a public company owning it. Thank you.
Ms. Schreiner?
Yes, I supported the city decision, and the reason why is that the project that was being proposed was of such scale, and the conflict of the expert opinion and the conflict, or the questions, I should say, about the degree of risk for that project triggered more environmental review. The district was recommending a focused EIR, and I felt very satisfied that the city council decided to request a full EIR before the work would begin. As I understand the situation, the city council was acting as what would have been a surrogate to the coastal commission decision. Therefore, if the city had approved the work to begin on a mitigated negative declaration, that the item did not necessarily go before the coastal commission. And that would have been, I believe, a serious problem. That the members of council are very strong in the area of law, but law is so specialized that these California Environmental Quality Act laws required special counsel. And water, of course, is very specialized. So I felt it was unfair for the city council to have to make such difficult decisions. And I appreciated Councilmember Brown's background on the board of the water directors. He brought a great deal through that work, thank you, and through the process that we have of what's called a joint city district. So we have two of our council members, Brown and Morton, going to meetings with our water district representation. I believe it's Director Lee, or excuse me, Vice President Lee at this time. I'm not sure who the second one is, actually, come to think of it, but the staff also attend these meetings, the city manager and the general manager, and these staff and electeds worked extremely well together. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sarabi?
I think that, excuse me, I think the city council did a terrific job in protecting the residents of Marina with their decision. I think if you look at the history of CalAm, interacting with this district and with the residents, it's been less than forthcoming, and not a big fan of them, but I think that overall the decision was the correct one.
And Mr. Nishi?
Yes. I support the decision the council made, but that doesn't mean what the council did and what the planning commission did was what their job entailed. My understanding, and I served on the planning commission a few years ago, that you have to find mitigating conditions and then make sure that the project doesn't impact. And I don't know if they did that. And to me, I told this to the Marina Coast Water District Board, that the key issue was Lone Star CMEX had an annexation agreement that they can only pump 500 acre feet, and I still say it was potable water, because they wanted that property to be sold later for visitor serving, and they needed potable water for a visitor serving facility. So that, if you mitigated that, you would have killed the financial ability to make it work. So they would have, to me, in my opinion, they would have scrapped the idea. But I think what the council did, the planning commission did, is they didn't do what the law says. They did what they politically wanted to do. And that's what I see in this present board at Marina Coast is that they're doing things arbitrarily and capriciously, and I don't think you can do that. You'll get in trouble later on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee.
Could you restate your question?
Do you or do you not support the city council decision of 2 days ago, and why? Thank you.
I support it. That's it.
The next question is going to Mr. Oh, I'm sorry, there's a rebuttal light on from Ms. Davis.
Yes, as a member of the Planning Commission and having, gone through that and attended Wednesday night's meeting, which was 7 hours of testimony, and then Thursday night's meeting. And by the way, Director Schreiner and I were the only ones on this dais who attended these very important meetings. No, this was not a political move on the part of the Planning Commission and City Council, but rather it was a legal recognition that what Cal-Am was trying to do was piecemealing. I have a huge project, but we'll look at this tiny little bit. Oh, that doesn't do anything, and then that is illegal under CEQA, and that's a very important point. The other thing was that if experts have a fair argument, a fair disagreement about something. One expert says this, one expert says the other. The city council is not to adjudicate, determine who is correct, but they have to recognize that there is expert disagreement and turn down the mitigated declaration on that basis. So it was clearly, and if Mr. Nishi or others had attended, they would see that.
Your time is concluded. The fourth question will go to Mr. Gustafson, and it sort of ties into the one that was just asked. How would you like to see the city of Marina and the Marina Coast Water District interact?
Well, I think Marina Coast Water District is always there to interact. Whenever the city has a development or a proposal for something that needs a new water supply, we're there. We're not developers. We're not anything like that. We're water purveyors. If the city has anything they want to develop, we're always there and always have been, with no problems whatsoever that I can imagine or remember, other than possibly the city doing things without proper permits and that with regards to waterworks installations. Maybe we had some problems there, and that initiated a bit of a tiff between the city and Marina Coast, but those are minor issues. This major one here initially with the city council was disturbing because their initial response was to approve the CMEX plant. You remember that. Please remember that. So, as Mr. Nishi stated, it was political. I don't know who was talking to him. I don't really care. I'm tired of it. Who talks to all these judges? How do they get such nonsense decisions against us? So I say we can work together because we're only water purveyors. What do you want? You got it. Every development they've done, they got all the shopping centers got the water they need. We're planning for the future to supply the water over the period necessary, which is 30 years for development, not tomorrow. You don't build 3,000 homes in one day. 40 permits usually are taken out per year. And so we're there to provide that kind of a water supply for any kind of that normal development you have. And that's all there is to it. And we have the water to do it. And we'll produce more water when you need it. Thank you.
Ms. Schreiner?
I really appreciated a couple of times when we've been able to share resources such as this facility. I don't know how many members of the public know. The city of Marina invited the water district to utilize this facility, which is already set up with multiple cameras and a place for a videographer to work undisturbed in the corner. These are city but community resources that are being shared with the water district currently at no additional charge other than the hourly rate by Access Monterey Peninsula. It saved the water district and the ratepayers approximately $60,000 for having to set up facilities at the district that would be the same, just less than a mile away. So I really appreciate any effort to leverage our assets as a community, and I'd love to continue to see the city work with the district on various ways. This last series of meetings it was very challenging, as Ms. Davis pointed out. It was a long stretch of time, as well as the board had to discuss 3 separate separate letters on the district, trying to find a way to convey what the concerns are for water to people who are of the land use jurisdiction, right? So finding a common language to leverage our assets, to conserve our resources, and to inspire great things in our community. That's what I would like to see the city government and the water district as a special district public agency do. We can all improve water conservation. For example, the city of Marina has been under fire recently for the way the median strip turf is sort of overwatered. The general manager or interim general manager of the water district suggested that the water district could help with an audit of the sprinkler system and provide some information about how that could be changed out, how things could be improved on water conservation for the city. So thank you. I'd love to see us work together.
Mr. Sarab?
I think whether you're dealing with the city, citizens, or even other boards, it's important to maintain a relationship of professionalism and cordiality. Thank you.
Mr. Nishi?
It's important.
Yes, I think after the city was incorporated, I think the city and Marina Coast Water District realized that there was no cooperation, no communications between the two different organizations. That's why, and I can't remember when it first started, who the mayor was. I don't know if it was Edith Johnson or Takahashi, but they formed the city district committee. And the intention was to have the mayor, council person, president of the Marina Coast Water District, and a director meet at the city district meetings to make sure that they can work together to solve the issues of the residents and the ratepayers. I don't know if that's still used as effectively as it can be, because for some reason the mayor doesn't go to these meetings. So as citizens and ratepayers, I wish you would encourage full participation from both organizations. Thank you. Oh, wait, I still have time.
Just about over.
Well, I'm so used to seeing that red, but I'll give it up. Go ahead. You're
Mr.
on.
Lee?
Thank you. I'd just like to mention that we still have the city district meetings. And Gail Morton from the city council, recently the city manager of Marina, Tom Moore, who's presently the president of the board of directors, and myself meet once a month and discuss whatever it is both agencies have on their mind. And lately, I have to say, ever since, it seems like it's been at least 6 months, we've been having some really good meetings. Previously, it seemed to me like it was just very difficult to communicate, and I'm not sure what it is. I don't know if it's Gail Morton coming to the, but the next thing I knew is she got the city manager there, and now I believe it's the best relationship that we've had in years. And that's all I have about that.
And Ms. Davis?
I have to agree with Bill. I went to the last joint meeting, and that was a very good meeting, very interesting and lively. The MCWD needs to approach Marina in a very active sense and try to work hand in glove. We're serving the same residents, and our interests on MCWD are the same as the city's, and in getting the long-term water for the growth that we need, fair rates to the taxpayer for our particular constituency, representation all the way around. We need to be talking and acting together more. One thing that City of Marina needs from MCWD, in my opinion, is accurate and realistic figures as to what is our current water supply. They need to be kept in the loop as far as our MCWD needs and projections. there needs to be, in my view, a decentralization of the water supply. We're all used to, all of our water comes from one purveyor. But with a drought and other circumstances, you see that you're looking at your dying bushes and wishing you had another source. The water board should be encouraging alternative things, more, best technologies, conservations, and working with City of Marina with that, because City of Marina has new development coming in. So you don't have to be retrofitting things if you work this right. You'd be talking to City of Marina and developers now. Let them know about bioswales. Let them know about you can collect rainwater and runoff. And you could have dual drains and showers so that your gray water is recycled. You can use it on the laundry, and in some cases they even use it for drinking water with a proper filtration. But as these technologies come available and as they get cheaper, and Marina Coast Water District in its investigations learns about it, they need to be sharing this with City of Marina so this can be considered in new development.
I see two rebuttal lights on. Mr. Nishi?
Yes, a statement was made that the city and Marina Coast serve the same people, and I don't know if that's a true statement because we have different boundaries. On the former Fort Ord, we serve the people all the way down to Delray Oaks, Seaside, etc. And I don't think the city serves the same. And then there was another comment made that we have to coordinate. I think we do. We have a, sorry, got the spells palsy and it gives me a tough time. We require irrigation systems to be put in with purple pipe, so in the future when recycled water is available, we can hook up the recycled water. Thank you.
Mr. Gustafson, Mr. Lee has a rebuttal.
Yes, I just wanted to mention that some of the items that my colleague on my left, your right, mentioned, whenever you start talking about alternative solutions to water, there's always costs. And one of the things that I think that the Board of Directors of the Marina Coast Water District look at very carefully is how is it that we're going to implement things. Okay, let's just say you're going to have containment, and you're going to take your shower water and you're going to put it into a big tub. Well, now you have mosquito abatement that you have to consider. I mean, there's always something else that has to be done. And then, okay, who's going to enforce the mosquito abatement to make sure that that water is properly treated so that you don't have Nile fever and things like that going around? I'll give up because I think you're about to raise your red flag. So.
Mr. Gustafson has a rebuttal as well.
I just wanted to mention that the idea of bioswales, bioretention, stormwater collection vaults, things like that, those aren't devices used for your drinking water. Those are devices used to clean the water according to EPA standards. I'm the QSD for the city of Salinas. And those things, it's just, they serve a purpose, but not for our use of drinking here in the city. And the city's basically exempt since we're not a risk to any major water source. We have internal drainage, so we have to worry about that kind of stuff. But anyway, we just need to keep developing the water necessary for the city to use as it develops to increase its tax base, to get good citizens to live here in Marina. And that's how we work together. We always have since 1961. Thank you.
Ms. Schreiner has a rebuttal.
Yes, I wanted to speak to the comments about whether or not we serve the same people as the city, as the water district. Well, what we have as a water district is a service area that is beyond the area of Central Marina. We call it Central Marina and the Ord community. But saying that we have a larger circle than the city has to encompass does not mean that we don't still serve the same people. If the city of Marina is a smaller portion of a larger, we're still serving those people together, as well as the water district serves even more than the city. And I certainly think that we have small differences in our jurisdictional boundaries, but we represent the same people. The same people who voted for Councilmember Brown have the opportunity to vote for the Water District Board of Directors. So there are small differences. I know down on Lake Drive and whatnot, we could argue boundaries, but I just want to point that out. Our community is one.
The fifth question will go to Jan Schreiner. And the question is, do you support the annexation of the former Fort Ord to the district? And if yes, should the Central Marina ratepayers be allowed to vote on the annexation?
All right. I support definitely investigating the annexation, but I have to tell you, it is not entirely up to Central Marina or even to the Marina Coast Water District Board. It is something that will have to be carefully negotiated with our neighbors. Seaside is well represented by currently Mayor Rubio, not only as mayor of Seaside, but also sitting on the LAFCO board, sitting on the FORA board, sitting on the Seaside County Sanitation District Board, which is an organization providing wastewater services to Seaside. So the Seaside County Sanitation District, if you don't mind me calling it SCSD, has already applied to LAFCO for a very large area that we would currently be responsible for serving. So we have to negotiate. I always say dream big and be prepared to negotiate. We don't get to unilaterally decide, but there's going to take a lot of work, and it is part of the strategic plan to try to complete by 2018. That's a lot of work to take on, but I do support that work. And as far as Central Marina taking a vote on it, I understand there is a document that supports that concept. I have not yet seen that document, so I'm not sure that it's currently valid. But if we can come up with a valid document that says that is required, then of course I would follow, thank you, previous agreements. But it's not just up to Central Marina, even with that vote. We still have to coordinate with Seaside and a number of other sort of overlapping or adjacent jurisdictional boundaries. Thank you.
Mr. Sarabi?
Yes, I support the annexation, and I think that if you're putting money in the pot, that you should be heard and get a vote.
Mr. Nishi?
Yes, I support the annexation, and Central Marina should vote, but I want everybody to write this down. I'm agreeing with Jan Schreiner. You're not, I didn't say to laugh, I said to write it down, that broadly I support it, but without seeing what we're talking about, other than the annexation, it's what is negotiated. And that's, to me, is the key issue. Yeah, I gave you credit, okay. So, you know, I think that's the issue, is what is negotiated. If it's acceptable, then I say go for it. If it's not, and it's not advantageous to the people of Marina, thank you.
Mr. Lee?
Also, I'm not against the idea, but the problem is the devil's in the details. A lot of people want to do a lot of good things, but then when it's all writ out, it's so convoluted and one-sided that it's very difficult. And so that's all I have on that.
Ms. Davis?
Yes, the board is, this is a strategic goal of the Marina Coast Water District at this point. But the board is responsible to address this issue with the focus, does it benefit the ratepayers? Does it fit with our long-term water supply need and strategy? And are our ratepayers represented in this process? So this needs to continue. It's a complicated issue. There are huge long-term, multiple agencies involved. And certainly it's something that we need to be exploring. It is something in our strategic plan. Thank
Mr.
you.
Gustafson?
Yeah, that agreement Director Schreiner alluded to is a 1975 agreement between the City of Marina and the Marina Coast Water District, stating that there'd be no annexation by the city without a vote of the people. It's not directly involved with Fort Ord per se, but since the city expanded, I guess it would require a lot of study, a lot of attorneys again. Well, we'll have to look into this. My brochure is clear. I have no annexation without the vote of the Marina ratepayers, period. If you don't understand that, then you need to read the recent article from Jim Johnson about the Monterey officials wanted Marina Coast out of the regional project, and we got bumped, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, we have to be so careful in dealing with these people. You need people like myself who've been around a long time. I went to high school with Ralph Rubio. I know these people out there. My family lives in Seaside. I'm well aware of everybody involved, and we need to study it very carefully and those impacts and the potential vote changes, potential manipulations, potentials like creating the Marina Waste Management District, how they used other entities and smaller entities to gain the voting power. And then you basically got Monterey controlling it and the supervisors. Eventually, that's what I portend, and I worry about that kind of stuff. I'm always concerned about the ratepayers and the results of those expansions, how a board could be changed, and we are told what to do with our water. We need the right people to be involved in the negotiators, those that have shown that they can produce in negotiations, like Ken Nishi and myself. You need tough people. This is going to be a fight, like anything involving water. And don't make the mistakes again. You like last time when voted because you thought Marina was responsible for the desal problems? Come on, Marina ratepayers, give us a break. We weren't responsible. I told you, the deceitful individuals in the peninsula.
Thank you, Mr. Gustafson. Did you have a rebuttal, Mr. Nishi?
Please.
Please go ahead.
There was a statement always referring to the strategic goals.
Yeah.
And the strategic goals was made by the board. And that doesn't reflect what the public wants. And also there was another statement made about, and I can't remember, but something about the other areas on the former Fort Ord. But the critical issue is former Fort Ord, Marina. I'm gonna have nightmares tonight. I'm gonna see that yellow sign coming up, and then the red sign, and I'm wasting my own time. And then I'm old and can't remember what else. Oh, former Fort Ord and Marina get their water from the Salinas Valley Basin. So it's gonna be hard to separate the former Fort Ord. Thank you.
Oh, I thought I saw a light on down there. No. We will go on to question 6 now. This is for Mr. Sarabi. Simple and straightforward question. What plans, if any, do you have to reduce rates and or halt drastic increases?
Well, I think that the best way, the fastest way to lower rates is to stop getting sued. But also to increase our supply and conserve what we have.
Does that conclude your remarks?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Nishi?
Being a director on the Marina Coast Water District is like having a business. You have to be creative and you have to think outside the box. If you work and collect your check every 2 weeks or every week, you don't have to think outside the box. Marina Coast Water District just did a rate study and they increased your rates. We have 2,000 acre feet of recycled water that we're giving away to the farmers. We've been doing it for maybe close to 20 years. We didn't need it, but at one point when your rates start to climb, I think the board has to make that hard decision and start charging the farmers. Say, hey, we helped you for X amount of years, now's the time where we need to make money because our rates are going up. So there's 2,000 acre feet. If you can get $117 an acre foot, that comes out to $250,000. But the board, under the leadership of the president and the old vice president, never thought of that. They just do what the general manager tells them, not thinking outside the box, trying to reduce the rates of the ratepayers, because the ratepayers are having a difficult time also. Thank you.
Mr. Lee?
The question is, what plans do you have to decrease the rates? And the most immediate response that I can think of is, as Mr. Nishi stated, sell the recycled water, because we finally, after all these years, have more than one person that wants it. And the next thing is to recover the money that we spent on the, recover the money from CalAm. That's the short answer. And the thing is I don't know about decreasing the rates. But the thing that I will tell you is that once that money is recovered, once money comes in, we can stabilize the rates for the future. That's all I have.
Okay, Ms. Davis?
Yes, thank you. Reducing the rates, I'm not sure that we could. I mean, you've got infrastructure that always needs being taken care of. You've got money is pretty much spoken for, probably. But halting drastic increases, I think that we need to look, as we plan, on efficiencies of all kind, economy of scale, and again, with potential partnership with other public agencies, improved technologies, always being on the lookout for what is the best deal for our ratepayers. And Sarabi mentioned not getting sued. Well, really, I'm not sure that was a fair statement as far as Marina Coast Water District was defending itself in this last thing. But being cognizant of not just the environmental and the engineering factors in a project, economic factors, but the legal factors as well, all of these things together, proceeding very carefully so that you don't make missteps, so that you find partners that you can trust, you have legal agreements sealing the deal, you've got characters you're working with that have the same kind of goals as you, not attempted public-private, I think will go far to helping reduce, halting drastic increases, and over time may reduce costs as a desal or other significant technology comes online. Thank you.
Mr. Gustafson?
Yes, all these new water sources will cost us money. They're not going to reduce rates. I support low rates, and we've had trouble keeping up with infrastructure and had to pay more from the Central Marina because we weren't allowed to recover our forward rates. Recently we have. For 3 years we could not. We were outvoted at fora, regardless of whether they created the rate study or we created it. You know, it was a real problem. We depend on the city of Marina to develop, to increase the customer base. In other words, we're not land jurisdictions, we're water purveyors. Please understand that. I only supply water. I don't worry about what you develop. You develop, and we can reduce the rates by spreading the cost to people. You have some development for, but it's so darn slow. It's the city that's costing the water district the money. We are not sued. We have initiated litigation to recover our honest investment and implementation of the strategic plan to the desal plant. Everybody talks about no plant. That was the strategic plan. You got it? And trust me, when I tell you about the recycled water, will eventually be a potable source. And we do have those rights. I just worry about the people we came up with the negotiations with again. Same people. You know, do we have the judges to back us? No, we don't. I could tell you stories about that one particular judge who voted against us with this Michael Stamp debacle in the EIR. Yeah, it's ludicrous, these people. You do your own research on Villarreal, find out who she is and what she was, and these people voting against us. It sometimes is overwhelming when the honesty out there. It is phenomenal, and we have to pay so much when we deal honestly in a negotiation. And it costs us as ratepayers. Thank you.
Ms. Schreiner?
Yes, I'm not sure that I would be able to reduce rates. I can't make that promise, or I could try to work toward it, but I think that halting the drastic increases would be more likely. One of the things that I've been working on with the rest of the board is to negotiate this litigation to get the reserve funds of the water districts back from the failed project. We used to, as a district, have an accounting method that a little note would be put in the budget saying funding to be obtained. And what it was not exactly clear to some of us at first was that if there was not a loan or a grant, that funding came from the reserve. So that I ascertained by asking some very difficult questions in 2011 and having meetings with the staff who were very patient with me and describing what the method had been. And the staff actually innovated the accounting. We actually have another page now that shows various fund transfers, and that was an innovation of just the past couple of years. So I think one of our greatest assets at the Water District are our staff. They can be better cared for in a sort of family way of saying, but they need better staff development. They are, thank you, they're as efficient as our current resources allow, but we could apply, I think, a few more resources for them to be able to better work together, better to utilize the latest technologies and software, and just I think getting the best efficiency out of their staff by providing what they need would be one way that I would recommend that we could do a better job with our rates.
Thank you. Mr. Nishi, did you have a rebuttal?
Yes. The regional project is not dead. In Superior Court, San Francisco, Judge Karnoff, I think, has said it's not dead, and he's going to rule on it, I think, December.
That's true.
And the other thing is, this is on reducing rates. The feds are looking into RICO, and if that is successful, I think the Marina Coast Water District Board should go after them for more than the amount of money that Marina Coast has spent on the project. Got all these attorneys looking at me, but punitive,
Yeah, they all want to get a piece of that. So.
punitive damages, et cetera. So, you know, when I hear that there's no way to end the statement,
Ms. Schreiner, you had a rebuttal?
Yes. One of the things I also want to make clear that's not part of the litigation was in the past we had a housing-only development called Seaside Highlands, which went in prior to the Water District even having capacity charges. So that kind of large-scale development was not really well predicted, I suppose you could say. And once it happened and we realized, okay, we have 380 homes and expensive lift stations for infrastructure, and we don't have any way of recovering those costs yet, the district made some changes. So we're going to make sure that kind of thing doesn't happen in the future. We've looked very carefully at the capacity charges, and that was part of the 5-year rate study that was recently done. And so future development will carry a bigger share of the costs, the price tag, to the district for the infrastructure that particular new development would require through capacity charges.
I think we're only allowing one rebuttal at this time, and maybe what your comments could be either incorporated in your closing remarks when we get there or incorporated into another question. It's almost 1:30, and in my opinion, we do not have sufficient time to ask another question and go through the entire dais. So if I may take the prerogative of the moderator and call the 1:30 break at this time, and then I believe that is supposed to be a 10-minute break, so we would reconvene. Yes, only 10 minutes. So if we could reconvene at 1:40, that would probably work quite well. Adjourned to break.
Thank you.
You have to wait for me to resume my seat.
man.
This is not,
Starting to bother me a little bit.
this does not have power steering.
No, no, friction.
Oh, God.
No, I
Hey,
can,
the chip, huh?
hard to do with just one.
Yeah, I like that.
Is that mine? Oh, good. I don't want to be kicking your stuff around. Oh, my apologies. Thank you. Now we're going to go back to the beginning to number one, Mr. Ken Nishi.
What was that again?
And the question is, based on the city council decision regarding Slantwell, what should Marina Coast Water District's next move be?
Good one.
Marina Coast has to continue to do what they have to do to solve their own issues. Before I left the board 2 years ago, we had a contract to do a desal for the augmentation of the former corridor, and